let the great hair fool you. Dave Pandullo is one of the best basketball players and most competitive that I've played with. I've known him for well over 20 years, and I'm really excited based on where he is a partner today. This is just going to be a great conversation. So, Dave, with that, I'll throw it over to you. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Great to see you.
During the pre-call, you made mention of your first job a few years before we met each other, but I'd love if you could just kind of share that story again, because I think it's so relevant from kind of the space that I'm in today and spaces that you support.
My first job was when I was 12 years old, wallpaper hanging and painting business. One of the things I did in the summers that I thought was relevant here just because it did give me an appreciation for the trades and hard work at an early age.
Even where you started there, and now obviously kind of your career post business school, let's talk a little bit about kind of your space as an investor and kind of what your career arc has been there.
Yeah, absolutely. So as a result of that experience and others, always had an interest in entrepreneurship at a young age. As you know, I went to UNC Chapel Hill and was a finance major there. Yeah, go Hills. And so started my career in investment banking, essentially advising really kind of bootstrapped, founder-led businesses across a lot of different industries on selling their businesses. And so that was kind of a launch point, got to learn about a lot of different industries and a lot of the finance skills I learned in school. And then that sort of segued into a series of places where I worked at different types of investment firms. And so worked for larger private equity firms, earlier stage investment firms. Went back to business school for a period of time, had a short stint as an operator at an early stage technology startup. So got a real appreciation for the hard work that goes into scaling and starting business. And then ultimately, all of that kind of led me to where I've been for over 10 years now at Frontier Growth. And Frontier is a private equity firm that focuses on investing in growth stage, vertically oriented software companies. So when you think about, well, what does that mean? Everybody's probably familiar with Salesforce, which is a customer relationship management software platform, serves all types of businesses. Where what we focus on are businesses that are specific to a particular industry and partnering with founders that come from the industry so they can really instill all of that subject matter expertise into the software to make it best suited for businesses in that industry. So for a lot of folks that are familiar with Service Titan, that'd be a high profile example within the trades where they started sort of in the residential field services space.
Could you talk a little bit about the difference in terms of traditional private equity versus growth? Because I always refer to your firm as Frontier, but when you take a step back and really think about the naming convention, I think there's a lot more to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of different flavors of investment firms out there in terms of types of industries, size of companies, types of investments. Where we focus sort of sits in between what you'd refer to as kind of traditional private equity and then at the other end of the spectrum, venture capital, where we refer to ourselves as a growth equity investment firm because most of the businesses in which we're investing are founder-led, largely bootstrapped. They're reinvesting a lot of their profits back into the business. They're kind of in that scaling stage. Generally, the founder, like I said, came from the industry, felt the pain point firsthand, couldn't find a software that's fit their needs, and so set out to build a business to build that kind of modern software. And so our investment capital is going towards helping them grow and scale. And we've built our business around providing more than just the capital, but also resources to help that specific type of company scale from, call it 5, 10, 15 million of revenue. And we get involved and either marginally profitable or maybe not even profitable to provide the growth capital and the resources to help them scale to really become a market leader in their space. And so as a result, it's a little different than sort of the leveraged buyout type of private equity firm where it's a little bit more acquiring the company. We're generally a minority investor partnering with the existing team. Maybe there's a little bit of capital for liquidity involved, but it's much more kind of growth acceleration oriented.
Interesting. I'm going to do my best to resist the urge to ask a bunch of valuation questions. It's really a great example of your humility. I think the way in which you're talking about the investments you make, it was interesting hearing more about the company you just partnered with in my neck of the woods up in Chicagoland, Albee. I think that's really interesting, kind of the founding team's background in terms of if you don't have the tool, make it yourself. And something that I saw in the paving industry for years and years and years, there were software tools that were just way too many bells and whistles and not enough. And it was clear to me as an operator in the space that that subject matter expertise was missing from kind of these technology tools. So this is an opportunity to talk a little bit more about Albi, kind of brag about kind of the thought process in those investments. But I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, yeah, you're spot on. I mean, we feel like that subject matter expertise from the founding team is paramount to every investment that we make because our expertise is really on how do we help those businesses scale, but we'll never know a fraction of what the founders of the businesses that we partner with will forget in terms of their subject matter expertise in the industry. And that obviously is constantly changing. And so we're big believers in being super close to the customer, listening to the customer, and constantly innovating based on their feedback. And as a result, we love the situations where a founder comes from the industry. And Albi's a great example. As you mentioned, it's based outside of Chicago. The founder, Alex Duda, previously ran operations at a restoration services business. And so it's a niche within the broader skilled trades, which many folks may know, but some may not, in that damage restoration involves a significant insurance component to what they do. And so Alex looked at every single software solution under the sun, including Service Titan that I mentioned earlier. But what makes that industry really unique is you do all the work up front, and then you have to go deal with insurance, billing and reimbursement and documentation, which frankly has some parallels to some other industries that we serve, like healthcare. So we love these little niches, and we love the founders that deeply understand the niche and have tremendous empathy for the customer and view that as a critical part of us and them being successful.
I have a demo set up next week. I mean, I think there's a real great use opportunity on the concrete restoration side as well. When you talk about kind of this vertically integrated SaaS space, I think it'd be remiss if we didn't at least touch on AI. I mean, given the fact there's so much conversation around it, I'm talking to a lot of kind of young professionals that are thinking about kind of their career journey. And obviously, AI is going to change a lot of different entry level roles, similar ones to what you took right out of school, what I took right out of school. How do you think about AI as it relates to the space that you're investing in today?
Yeah, it's a great question, and obviously, being a software investor, it's something that comes up every day. Whether it's from our investors who are asking us, what does it mean? Is it a threat, as an opportunity, or the companies that we're partnering with? We view it as an accelerant, not a replacement. It's really about helping people do their jobs better and faster, not replacing the skill and intuition they bring to their work. And we think that being investors in vertical software companies generally that are the core business management platform, the operating system for a particular business in a niche industry, our companies house all of this proprietary data and workflows. And so they sort of have this unique opportunity to capitalize on AI and deliver tremendous value to their end customer. And so you may have seen, I actually had a post on LinkedIn yesterday
I did.
about this particular topic because we're just seeing across our portfolio, many of our companies, that the post yesterday was referencing several of our healthcare companies that have launched AI transcription solutions that are natively embedded into a healthcare practice management system that helps save time for practitioners who have to spend a ton of time typing up notes and making sure it's documented properly. And so that's an example that we're seeing across the portfolio. There's many other examples, in some of our businesses that have field services components. The scheduling and routing aspect is a significant area where we're seeing value delivered to the customer through AI enablement. So we see it as a really significant opportunity. It's certainly a threat as well. And we think that, the software companies that aren't embracing it and looking at ways to incorporate AI to deliver more value to their customers are going to fall behind. But we're extremely excited about the opportunity for AI for vertical SaaS.
I think it's a great perspective to have and a healthy perspective to have, right? Any business anywhere faces threats every day, but to be able to kind of oftentimes threats also have an opportunistic side. So to be able to look at kind of how do we make this native? How do we keep everything in the same ecosystem? Just because I know how challenging it is being in the field and switching from one solution to another solution. We're talking during our pre-call. My father-in-law and brother-in-law both being in the medical space, it gives them time to spend more time with patients now because some of that busy work, they're able to kind of automate that. And is it perfect? No, but if it takes an hour task and makes it 10 minutes, they're getting back 50 more minutes to serve clients. So really good kind of return on value there. Man, we could speak for another half hour about that. It's like, man, I'm going to be dangerous if I ask this question. I know we're going to go down a rabbit hole. So anyways, I'm going to take this opportunity. I want to shift to these three questions. I'm super excited to hear how you answer them. What advice would you give to your 18-year-old self, knowing what you know today?
Yeah. First of all, I love the questions. I took a little time to really think through them because it gets you thinking back 20 plus years about who you were and what you were doing and how you're thinking. But yeah, if I think about where I was back then, I feel like the advice I would give would really be around having a growth mindset and constantly learning. I feel like I always wanted to be super prepared and have all the answers to anticipated questions, but sometimes just being very curious and not having the answer and asking lots of questions and staying humble. I think that advice really resonates, and I've sort of learned a lot over the years of just constantly learning. And a lot of the most successful people I've met generally aren't the smartest person in the room, but they surround themselves with smart people and never stop learning. So I think growth mindset would be the feedback I'd give my 18-year-old self.
Yeah, I love that. You're the prototypical oldest child. I mean, you blazed a heck of a trail. And I agree with you. If you're, from my perspective, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So fortunately, I work with a lot of great people. So I don't know if I've ever been the smartest person in a room. So I think I'm in some pretty good rooms. How do you want to be thought of by your teammates, both the people whose companies you're investing in, your teammates at Frontier? How do you want to be thought of by your stakeholders?
Yeah, no, I mean, you highlighted it, and like many businesses, we have other set of stakeholders and our investors as well, and everybody's got vision and mission, and clearly you want to deliver on the returns as an investor and be a successful investor for all those stakeholders. But for me, as I thought about this question, it really comes down to doing that, meeting and exceeding expectations of everyone's goals and mission, but doing it in the right way and kind of how you do it being just as important. And so for me, we talk a lot about helping accelerate potential here at Frontier is kind of part of our mantra, and that really resonates with me, because you can look at it different ways. It's helping the potential of our companies and accelerating and achieving their mission, the people at those companies, the founders, the leadership teams, the teammates, as well as the people here, at our firm, sort of supporting them in their careers. So, accelerating potential is what I would like to be thought of from everybody that I work with as sort of a growth catalyst.
You're such a point guard. I'm like listening to that answer. I'm like, I want to get everybody involved. I want to get everybody going. I want to get everybody achieving. I think that's what made you so successful on the basketball court and still today. What's one of your personal values that is most meaningful to you personally, professionally, everywhere?
Yeah, well, you've highlighted it a few times. Obviously, you and I grew up playing basketball together. I hit 5'7" in ninth grade and haven't grown since then. So, as a result, perseverance is definitely a quality that's important to be successful when you're 5'7" playing basketball. But hard work and perseverance have always been really important qualities to me. I think team sports is something that I grew up doing, not just basketball, but other sports. But I think it translates really well when you get into the business world. And we talk a lot about this from a partnership perspective when we're, you know, engaging with prospects and they're trying to figure out who's the right partner. But it's never going to be up and to the right. You're always going to have hardships and have to work through difficult times. And so having that type of mentality has made me successful in a number of different ways. And is a value that is really important to me.
5'7", but lightning quick and fearless. I know you were always kind of the one that stood out on the Jordan team, but just what that team was able to achieve, and yeah, 5'7" point guard running the show, that doesn't happen often. But this conversation has been incredible. Tell Emily and the kids I said hello. I'd love to get together next time I'm down in Charlotte. Really appreciate you making time for this conversation. It's really, really valuable. We'll have to circle back and dive deeper on some of these topics.
Thanks for having me, Mike. It's a
All right.
pleasure.
See you, buddy.